If you've been filling your feeders with corn thinking that you're helping your bucks grow bigger antlers, corn might bring deer in, but it's not giving them the things that they need to thrive. In fact, it could be hurting the herd. Stick around because today we're breaking down the biggest deer nutrition mistakes and what you should be feeding instead. Oftentimes we talk to hunters about feeding deer and they always are like, yeah, we feed deer. And we're like, what do you feed? Corn. Well, corn love deer and corn is cheap, but the reality is deer have to spend a huge amount of energy to break that corn down to get what? 70% protein, 2% fat, 2% fiber. The reality is for a deer to really thrive and get the things that it needs to meet its maximum genetic potential, it needs one, at least a 16 to 20% protein diet. It needs two, a high level of digestible energy. And digestible energies come in the form of fat. Well, corn only has 2% fat. And then thirdly, how are they utilizing the energy they're getting to maximize their potential? And corn simply doesn't do that. So oftentimes we want to help guys understand that yes, corn is cheap, and yes, deer love corn, but there's something you could be doing that gets you so much more bang for your buck. What deer really actually need is a high protein, high fat diet during the right time of the year. Our view is you should be feeding your deer during the spring and summer months. Those are the most pivotal times of the year to really maximize what's going on in your deer herd. The growing season is about 200 days long, and it starts the day the deer drops its antler, or during the fawning season, which is also during the spring and summer months. And so often we start feeding in the summer and we've missed a huge pivotal time of the year to really get your deer healthy and really get that antler growth going. We always want to focus on high protein, high fat content grains like soybeans and peanuts. That's really what's going to take your deer to the next level, especially if you start feeding during the spring and not waiting to the end of the summer or until hunting season. And if you do, if that's what your budget says, you can only feed during hunting season or leading up into hunting season, by all means, use corn, but throw in something a little extra. Throw in some additional grain like soybeans, like peanuts, and I promise you, you will see a big difference in your deer herd in the coming years. Another question that we're often asked when we're talking about feeding deer and we're trying to encourage people to use something other than corn is, well, when do I feed? You say that that's not right, so when do I do it? Let me break down a little bit of what the year should look like, because here's the reality. What a lot of people don't understand, or what a lot of people just simply haven't been taught, is every month matters. Yes, every month matters in the calendar year. So often we've spent all of our time just thinking about feeding deer during August, September, October, leading into the deer season, or just during hunting season. But every month matters. So as you come out of hunting season, that's when you really should start thinking about this. It's not when the hunting season is coming. Actually, as the hunting season is ending, what should we start thinking about? The deer are at their all-time unhealthy state during that time of year. So here in the Southeast, during the February months. Up north, it's a little bit earlier as seasons start to go out and the winters really start to get harsh. What should we do during that time of year that makes a difference? And that's the time of year that is most overlooked. Well, first of all, we don't need to be just pouring corn on the ground during those months. It's not healthy for the deer's stomach. The deer actually needs other things to help digest those type grains in its gut, and those simply not available during those times of the month. So having a good, well-balanced diet, if you're gonna supplement or feed during those time of the year, it's very important. And we think it's gonna create the biggest difference. It's the most overlooked months of the year. And if you think about it, it's the months of the year that have the least amount of nutrition available in the wild. Not until spring green up does the deer really begin to have other opportunities to get the nutrition they need. So if you'll implement a feeding program during those times of the months, you'll really start to see a difference in your deer herd in that year. We believe it, in that year. You'll hear a lot about it takes several years for deer to start changing. But we don't believe that. We think if you'll get that fat to them, that digestible energy, and you'll get it to them during the right time of year, you'll really start to see a difference in your deer herd. And then as the spring up starts to happen, where they have all that green forage, it's important to start adding that fat source again. Because again, the number one thing a deer needs is digestible energy. Well, where are they getting it? Where are they getting those fat sources? If you're not implementing them into their diet, they're simply not getting them. This is a key time of year to start adding those different mixes that have higher fat, higher protein grains in them other than corn. And then you get into the summer months, and it's very important to start implementing minerals and vitamins into the diet as well, because that's really when the deer starts really needing those things to maximize, again, the genetic potential and start storing those minerals for the winter. Implementing high digestible and high energy grains into the summer months are also key factors to making a difference in your deer herd. So as we roll into what we call the velvet split months, which is after the deer's growing every year, it splits its velvet, the antlers harden, and they're pretty much done for the season on growing. But it's super important to keep fat in their diet. So don't just transition again to straight corn because it's cheap or because it's readily available or we know that the deer eat it. Always maintain fat, because what that will allow the deer is it will minimize its lows, right? So we want to minimize how much weight the deer lose every year. We want to minimize how much we have to start over in the spring of every year. And if you'll maintain a higher fat diet through the winter months with the corn or with other protein sources as well, you'll see that your lows won't be as low as they were last year, and you'll have a head start for the next season. The beautiful thing about implementing a diet other than corn is you quickly start to see things change. And that's what's the most encouraging part to doing it. So if you'll implement those high nutritional grains, you'll see change faster. And that'll give you confidence that what you're doing is actually making a difference. And even more importantly, it's worth the money that you're spending on that feed. See, corn doesn't do that. Yes, corn is highly consumed. Yes, deer love corn, but you do not see a change in the animal throughout the year. But if you'll implement these diets that have these higher fats, higher protein, higher vitamin mineral, you'll start to see the deer change quickly, and that'll give you the confidence you need to continue to do it. Hey, I know I said a lot, but here's the reality. You need to be feeding more than corn, and you need to be feeding it more often than you are. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, check out these, wherever the guy is gonna put the clip. Check out our next video. We have a lot more to share.